In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to use Angular CLI to build your applications and get deployable packages for production. With this, you will get all the optimization techniques that I mentioned at the beginning of this section. First of all, I want to delete all these 25 files that were generated in the last lecture as part of running Angular CLI. We don't want any of these files in our project. So, undo, discard all changes. Now, back in terminal, in order to build our application for production, we run ng build with the prod flag. And this will create a deployable package that we can simply copy paste to a different machine or use FTP or any other mechanism to deploy to a production server. But before running this, I want to show you what happens when you run ng build without the prod flag. So delete. This is going to take a few seconds. Okay, we got those 5 bundles just like before. You can see our vendor bundle is still big. It's 2.2 megabytes. So we don't have ahead of time compilation here. In other words, Angular compiler is part of this vendor bundle. Now back in VS Code, you can see this new folder here, dist, which is short for distributable. Let's have a look. So we've got the favorite icon for our application. We've got the glyph icon files, which are part of Bootstrap. We've got index.html and our bundles. Now I want to show you a few things here. First, let's take a look at this index.html. This index.html is slightly different from the index.html that we have in our source folder. So here in the body element, after app root, we have a few script references. So the first one is a reference to inline.bundle.js. After that, you can see a reference to polyfills and other bundles in our application. In contrast, the index.html that we have in the source folder doesn't have any script references. Let's have a look. So we go to index.html in the source folder. Look, here in the body element, we don't have any script references. Because during development, these bundles are injected into the body element at runtime. Okay? Now back to the dist folder. For every bundle, we have 2 files. One is the actual bundle file, and the other is a map or a source map file. The purpose of this map file is to map a piece of JavaScript code in the bundle to its original source file. So when you're debugging our application in Chrome, this map file allows Chrome debugger to show you the actual code in the source file, not in the bundle. Okay? Now let's take a look at one of these bundles. You can see here we don't have any of the optimization techniques I told you at the beginning of this section. We have all these kinds of comments. We have a lot of white space. We have long descriptive names. So we don't have minification or uglification. We also have dead code. So if you have created components and services that we have not used in our application, they will end up in these bundles. Let me show you an example. So I'm going to create a new component. Let's call this courses. And I'm not going to use this anywhere in our application. Okay? Now I'm going to build the application one more time. So ng build. All right, our bundles are ready. Now let's take a look at this main.bundle.js. So here, if you search for courses, you can see 27 references. So all the code for our courses component is in the bundle. So we have dead code here. Also, here we don't have ahead of time compilation because the Angular compiler is included in the vendor bundle. Now let's see what happens when we build the application with the production flag. So ng build --prod. Now look at the size of our vendor bundle. It's 1.2 megabytes. So it's almost half the size. But by the way, this is the initial size before applying any kind of minification and uglification. So if you look at the actual file size, it's even smaller. Let me show you. So let's have a look. I'm going to show you the vendor bundle in the dist folder. Look at the size of this file. is 325 kilobytes. So we reduced this from 2.5 megabytes initially to 300 kilobytes. Also, if you look at the other bundles in our application, they're all smaller. Now back in the dist folder, we've got this favorite icon and glyph icons just like before, but look at this index.html. You can see we don't have any white space here. So all our HTML markup is represented as one long string. Now let's take a look at one of our bundles. So this is the inline bundle that you saw earlier. You can see we don't have any comments here. We don't have any descriptive identifiers. So our function names, our variables, they're all cryptic, like E, R, N, and so on. Also, here in the file names, we have this random string that we call a hash. This hash is generated based on the content of the bundle. And it's a technique to prevent caching. So every time you modify your code and regenerate these bundles, this hash is going to change. And this will prevent the client's browser to cache a file with the exact same name, because the name of the file is going to change in each build. So to recap, we can use Angular CLI to build a deployable version of our application. And what we get is this dist folder. You can simply copy paste this folder into a non-development machine. You can use FTP, or in a more advanced scenario, you can set up some kind of continuous deployment workflow.